Commander Sarah Mitchell looked down at the two furry bodies sprawled across her lap and sighed. The Crixian cubs had done it again. Despite their parents' repeated apologies and attempts to keep them in their own quarters, the small aliens always seemed to find their way to her cabin during rest cycles. The larger of the two, a male named Tico, had his face pressed against her knee, making soft chirping sounds in his sleep. His sister, Miri, had curled into a tight ball on Sarah's other thigh, her three-fingered paws twitching as she dreamed. Both of them radiated warmth through their thick blue-gray fur. Sarah had given up trying to move them weeks ago. The first time she attempted to carry them back to their family's quarters, both cubs had woken up screaming, a sound that brought half the ship's crew running with weapons drawn. The Crixian adults had explained, with obvious embarrassment, that their young bonded quickly with individuals they perceived as safe. Breaking that bond abruptly could cause psychological trauma. So now Sarah simply accepted it. She adjusted her datapad to a more comfortable angle and continued reading the supply reports. The weight on her legs had become familiar, almost comforting in the endless void of space. The door to her cabin chimed. Sarah glanced at the security display and saw Ambassador Thelnox, the Crixian diplomatic representative, standing in the corridor. His ears were flat against his head, a sign of distress in his species. "Come in," Sarah called softly, not wanting to wake the cubs. The door slid open, and Thelnox entered, his eyes immediately finding his children. His shoulders sagged with relief, then tensed with shame. "Commander Mitchell, I apologize profoundly. We installed a secondary lock on our quarters, but somehow they managed to bypass it." "It's fine, Ambassador." Sarah set down her datapad. "They're not bothering me." "You are too kind." Thelnox approached slowly, careful not to make sudden movements. "Among our people, this behavior is considered highly inappropriate. Children should remain with their family units during rest periods. I do not understand why they are so drawn to you." Sarah had her theories. She had been the one to rescue the Crixian delegation when their shuttle experienced catastrophic engine failure 3 months ago. She had personally pulled Thelnox and his family from the wreckage, carrying both cubs in her arms while their parents were treated for injuries. In the weeks that followed, while the Crixian ship was being repaired at the human space station, the cubs had started following her everywhere. "Maybe they just like me," Sarah said with a slight smile. "That is not in question." Thelnox sat down in the chair opposite her bunk, his long tail curling around his feet. "What concerns me is that we are scheduled to depart in 2 cycles. Our ship repairs are complete, and we must return to Crixian space to deliver our diplomatic reports. But Tico and Miri have become so attached to you that I fear the separation will be difficult for them." Sarah felt an unexpected pang in her chest. She had grown fond of the little troublemakers, even if they did invade her personal space every night. "They'll adjust once they're back home," she said, trying to sound confident. Thelnox's ears drooped further. "I wish I shared your certainty. In our history, there have been cases of juveniles forming such strong bonds with non-family members that separation caused lasting harm. It is rare, but it happens." "What do you usually do in those situations?" "The bonded individual becomes part of the family unit." Thelnox met her eyes. "But that would require you to leave your post and come with us to Crixian space. An impossible request, I know." Sarah looked down at the sleeping cubs. Miri had shifted in her sleep, one small paw now resting on Sarah's hand. The human felt a strange tightness in her throat. She had lost her own family years ago in a transport accident. Since then, she had thrown herself into her military career, avoiding emotional attachments. But somehow, these 2 small aliens had snuck past her defenses. "I'll talk to Captain Rourke," Sarah heard herself say. "Maybe we can arrange some kind of cultural exchange program. I could stay with your delegation for a few months, help the Cubs adjust, and gather intelligence about Crixian space for the Alliance. Thelnox's ears perked up, though he tried to hide his hope. You would do this? Leave your comfortable post on this station? I've been on this station for 3 years. I could use a change of scenery. Sarah gently stroked Miri's fur, and the cub made a happy sound in her sleep. Besides, someone needs to teach these two some discipline. The ambassador's expression shifted through several emotions, finally settling on something that looked like gratitude mixed with disbelief. Commander, I do not know what to say. Your species continues to surprise me. When we first encountered humans, we thought you were simply warriors, strong and efficient, but emotionally limited. Yet you show more compassion for our children than some of our own people would. Sarah shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. We're not all warriors. Some of us just ended up in uniforms because we didn't know where else to go. That is not what I see, Thelnox said quietly. I see a warrior who chooses to be gentle. That is a rare thing in the galaxy. The conversation was interrupted by Tico stirring awake. The cub blinked his large golden eyes and looked up at Sarah. Then he saw his father and immediately tried to burrow deeper into Sarah's lap, making distressed sounds. Tico, your father isn't here to take you away, Sarah said, scratching behind his ears. Relax. The cub peeked out cautiously, then relaxed when Thelnox made no move to approach. Miri woke up a moment later, yawning to show all her tiny teeth before snuggling back against Sarah's leg. Thelnox watched the interaction with a mixture of sadness and wonder. They trust you completely. I have never seen them so calm with anyone outside our immediate family. Kids are perceptive, Sarah said. They can tell when someone means them no harm. It is more than that. The ambassador leaned forward. Before we left Crixian space, both of them were terrified of strangers. The war with the Drennics left scars on many of our young. They saw things that no child should witness. When we took this diplomatic assignment, we hoped that getting away from our homeworld would help them heal. But they remained fearful and anxious until they met you. Sarah felt a cold sensation in her gut. I didn't know they had been through combat situations. Our colony was attacked when they were very young. Their older sibling was killed in the assault. Since then, they have struggled with fear and nightmares. Thelnox's voice became thick with emotion. But when they are with you, they sleep peacefully. You have given them something we could not provide, no matter how hard we tried. The weight on Sarah's legs suddenly felt heavier, more significant. These weren't just playful cubs seeking warmth. They were traumatized children who had found safety with her. The responsibility of that realization made her chest tight. Then I'll definitely be speaking to Captain Rourke tomorrow, Sarah said firmly. These two deserve to feel safe, and if I can help with that, I will. Thelnox stood, and for a moment Sarah thought he might cry. Crixians didn't shed tears the way humans did, but their eyes took on a particular sheen when they were deeply moved. You honor our family, Commander Mitchell. When we return to Crixian space, you will be welcomed as one of our own. After the ambassador left, Sarah sat in the quiet of her cabin, two small aliens sleeping peacefully on her legs. She thought about the life she had built here on the station, the comfortable routines, the emotional distance she maintained from everyone around her. It had been safe, but empty. Maybe it was time for a change. Maybe these two small beings had wandered into her life for a reason. Sarah had always believed that humans were meant to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. That was why she had joined the service in the first place. If these cubs needed her, then the decision was simple. She looked down at Tico and Miri, watching their peaceful breathing, feeling their warmth against her. For the first time in years, Sarah felt like she had found something worth more than her next assignment or promotion. She had found a purpose that went beyond duty. The human felt a weight on her legs, and this time, she welcomed it completely.